Hi, this is the code as we left it by the end of the lecture. It actually has a bug. So on this first video, we are going to fix this bug. To reproduce this bug, to show it to you, I changed my server. The server is now running here. I changed it so that it takes a long time to respond to this request that is getting the game state, that is getting the board. So the server now takes 5 seconds to answer this request. And we are doing this request every 2 seconds. So let's go to the browser and see how this works. So here I have the game, and also I'm going to open the network tab so I can see the requests as they are going. And you can see that there are many requests firing. And eventually they get completed and we see something on the board, and we can even play the game this way. But still, we are doing many requests to the server, and we are taxing the server with all these requests. So we want to fix this. How we fix this is interesting because it's an opportunity for me to show you another function that comes with the window variable here. So besides adding event listeners and setting intervals, there is also another function we can call. So let's see how this works. The problem here is that setInterval is calling this function every 2 seconds. But we don't want to call it every 2 seconds. What we want to do is to call it 2 seconds after the previous call has completed. So let's extract this function into to give it a name. So I'm going to give it the name poll, because we're pulling the server every 2 seconds. And here I am setting the interval poll. Okay, so it's the same thing as before. But now we do the change. What we want to do is, when poll is over, we want it to call itself again after 2 seconds. So instead of using setInterval here at the top level, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call setTimeout. And the behavior of setTimeout is not to call it on the interval every 2 seconds. It's going to wait for 2 seconds, call poll, and then it will be gone. But the next call to poll, when it's over, is going to call poll again, over and over, recursively in a loop forever. That is the intent of what we wanted. But now we also have to call poll the first time. We have to call it after new game is a good time to call it, because we need to start the process. So we're going to call it poll here once. And then that call, when it's done, is going to call itself again 2 seconds later, and so on. So now let's go to the browser and see how this behaves. Here I am just starting the game, and I can see that the request doesn't work. That's interesting. It's trying to fetch null. Why is that? A problem repeatedly occurring on our game. What is happening here? Well, let's think about it. When I start to poll, I am now starting to poll right away. I'm not waiting 2 seconds. So the behavior of setInterval, the setInterval we were using before, it waited 2 seconds before the first call. And by then, this call to new game, this guy here, it has already completed. But this time, poll is being called right away. We are calling it right here. And it doesn't wait 2 seconds before it starts. So when it gets here, it's trying to do this request, but game identifier has not been set because new game was still going on. So that's a very interesting thing, because we need to check if the game identifier is not null before we try to do the whole thing, before we try to do this whole bit. Now, if we have the game identifier not null, then we wait 2 seconds and try again. By then, I expect the new game will have completed, so that will work. Let's see how this works in the browser. All right, so now this thing is doing what we expected. So we do a request, it succeeds, then we wait 2 seconds and do it again. Now, in the real application, I'm doing the request every 200 milliseconds, which is a lot faster, so that the moves are smoother. But the idea here is the same. And now it's doing the correct thing. But this pull function is not the same you're going to see in the final version, the one you have. So in the next video, I'll show you the refactoring that gets us there.